Well, on this, Daniel Lippman joins us from Washington, D.C. He is Politico's correspondent covering the White House and the U.S. Capitol. Daniel, good to have you on the program. So
Thanks for having me.
what's happened over the last 24 hours in the U.S., is it a big blow for Ukraine?
I think it's a temporary blow, but McCarthy is a supporter of aid to Ukraine, but he also wants to have some more border security funding. And so what we may see happen in the next few weeks is a deal that pairs more money for protecting the U.S.-Mexican border with money for Ukraine to make sure that they can continue to push back the Russians and make more progress in their counteroffensive.
Daniel, Biden wants a separate bill for funding for Ukraine. Do you think that is something that will sit better for those Republicans who at the moment are saying, well, let's stop with Ukraine and look at what's happening at home because it's more urgent in the U.S. right now?
I think the only way they can do this is to pair more border security funding with Ukraine aid. There is increased skepticism of continuing to fund this war. Americans are very sympathetic to the Ukrainian cause and are amazed at what they've accomplished to push back Russia. But they also feel like it's become a stalemate. And so we have poured billions of dollars. And so we may be seeing Vladimir Putin almost wait out the clock to get a better deal if Donald Trump is reelected in 2024.
Yeah, just yesterday, there were some Democrats saying that because in this new temporary bill for 45 days, there's no more Ukraine funding, that Russia is effectively winning. But the majority of Republicans and Democrats want continued funding for Kyiv. It seems like there is about a dozen or so hardline Republicans, as they're called, that don't necessarily share that sentiment. How powerful is this group?
They are pretty powerful, and they almost led to a shutdown yesterday. But they also don't win the day. And so McCarthy is going to listen to the majority of his conference, plus Democrats and Republicans in both the House and the Senate, to put up a bill to fund Ukraine. This is something that is very important to Ukraine's defenses. The U.S. aid has been very effective, but they need to do this parliamentary maneuver because Democrats did not want to be accused of shutting down the government if there was no Ukraine aid in that package yesterday. And so I think Ukraine lives to fight another day, so to speak.
Well, we've just seen Slovakia elect someone who doesn't want to continue supporting Ukraine. Poland is holding elections in 2 weeks. The war in Ukraine definitely top of mind for voters and politicians there too. Do you think support for Kyiv is or could wane internationally as this war drags on? It's been 21 months already.
There is definitely that risk. And so I think the Biden administration and supporters of aid to Ukraine have said, hey, this is a small price to pay. If Russia is allowed to take over Ukraine or gain significant parts of it, then they will move on to other countries and it will become much more costly. It will drag in NATO and American forces and could become a nuclear conflict. And so this is basically a proxy war. I think a lot of Americans understand that. But it is striking that a party like the Republican Party, which used to be very anti-Soviet in Russia 25 years ago, or 30 years ago, they have become much more isolationist. People want to deal with the issues at home and not worry about the world anymore.
Daniel Lippman, thank you always for your analysis live to us there from the U.S. Capitol.